see, Jason was my son, and today is his birthday.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and happy Friday the 13th. So I just saw this Friday the 13th book tag from Mina over at Book Skywalker, who I love. I love her content and the books she reads. She reads a lot of horror just like me, so I'll link her channel down below, her video, if you want to check that out. And I will link to the original person who created this tag. But yeah, let's get started, shall we? I don't know why I always say that. I never say that in real life. Like, let's do this, shall we? First question is, a book where the mother is a villain. There are several. I chose Burn Off Bodies down because I think that the overall themes in this book deal with motherhood and family secrets, and this has a really interesting mystery. And I don't want to say too much because I don't want to give it away, but I would say the mother is a villain in this, and I really enjoyed this one. Next is A Book in the Backwoods. I don't think I've read a ton of books set in the backwoods, but the first book that came to mind, which I still haven't read yet but I want to, is The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon by Stephen King. This is about a young girl who gets lost on the Appalachian Trail, and I think the story is basically her story of survival. I've heard amazing things about this, and it's relatively short for a Stephen King book, and it's set in nature, so I think that's the perfect fit. Next is A Book with a Masked Killer. Another one. I feel like I'm just slacking in the slasher department for books, so if you can do me a favor and recommend me more slasher books in the comments, that would be great. But this is the first book that came to mind for me. This is Clown in a Cornfield by Adam Caesar. This is about a girl who moves to a new town with her father, and she befriends this new group of kids who are kind of rowdy and they get into a lot of trouble. The town kind of hates them, and then there's like this clown that is like the town mascot, if you will, and then somebody dressed as this clown starts killing kids. It's very slasher, Friday the 13th, and it was surprisingly violent for a YA book. I really liked this one. Next is A Book with the Best Final Chapter. I think Tender as the Flesh, really, the last few chapters, oh my god, the last chapter gutted me of this book, because we're following this story of this man who's living in a world where meat is poisonous and people have turned to cannibalism, so human meat, and humans are basically raised like cattle so that they can be used for their meat. And the man, he is going through a lot of questions and turmoil over the way that they're living, and the end is just so completely shocking and horrifying, and it really sold the book for me. Like, I think this ending is great. Next question is a book series that changes its protagonist from the first book. Okay, so this is difficult for me because I don't read series, but I did just read Ring, which is focused on an investigative journalist who learns of this mysterious videotape that kills you 7 days after you watch it. And I believe that, because it's a trilogy, I believe the next book focuses on completely different characters. I haven't read it yet, but I would like to because I really enjoyed The Ring. Next is A Book with Someone or Something Resurrected from the Dead. What? A book with someone or something resurrected from the dead. Okay, so there are several because I like zombies, but this is the one that immediately came to mind, and that is Tomi by Junji Ito. Tomi is about a girl who is like continuously murdered, and she just keeps coming back. She keeps coming back to life, and she experiences horrific things over and over through this like really thick book. It's really disturbing, it's sad and shocking, and I really enjoyed it. Next is A Book with a Character with Telekinesis. Carrie. It's a classic. It's the book that started Stephen King's career. It's about a girl who has telekinesis, and she's bullied, and then she uses her telekinetic powers to get those bullies back. She's a queen in my eyes, so Carrie will always be the telekinesis queen to me. Next is a book that takes place in New York. I wasn't sure about this one, but I think Night Film is set in New York. This story follows a journalist who is investigating the mysterious death of daughter of a famous filmmaker who's kind of very reclusive. He's a reclusive filmmaker that makes horror movies, and it's just a really haunting book that uses different forms of mixed media to tell the story, and it's very long. It's a little too long for me, but I really enjoyed this really bizarre journey, and I really recommend this book. Next is a book that takes place in hell or has something to do with the occult. So I'm gonna go with my fave, which is We Sold Our Souls. This is about a group of musicians who literally sell their souls to the devil to become famous, and I think this book is Grady Hendrix's best book. It is his most personal book, and it feels the most adult. It feels very real despite the occult settings. It deals with real issues of having these dreams, these huge goals when you're growing up, and then not amounting to anything, and just that feeling of displacement in your life, just feeling lost and like you haven't done anything. And I just think this book, it deals with those themes very well. I really enjoy this book, and I don't hear enough people talk about it. I think it's Grady Hendrix's best book. I'm gonna say it right there. Can we talk about my new spooky mug? Which, please. Thank you. It's Friday the 13th, and I've had a long week. Next is a book that takes place in space. Sadly, I've read no books that take place in space, so please, please, please leave me your space recommendations below. Space horror. I know that there are books set in space, I just don't know what they are. I haven't read any, so please, I love that whole isolated feeling in space, and I think space is absolutely terrifying, and in space, no one can hear you scream. Next is a book that has characters from different franchises who mash up. The first thing that came to mind was The Box in the Woods, which I just picked up. It's about a girl that is from the Truly Devious series, and this is a completely separate story from that series where she's pulled in to solve a mystery of a murder that happens in the woods. I think it's set at a camp, which sounds like the perfect summer read for me. That's the best thing I could come up with. Next is a book that is a retelling. So this is my current read. It's called That Time of Year, and it's a retelling of Shirley Jackson's The Summer People. So it's about a man whose wife and child go missing from their vacation home at the end of summer, and he's basically going through the town, the village, looking for her, and he's realizing how off everybody is, and he feels completely out of place there because he's never stayed there past the summer, and he feels very vulnerable and like he's in danger. It's very weird so far, and I haven't read Shirley Jackson's The Summer People, I don't think, so it's interesting. I will see. It's a translated horror, so I don't know what's going on, but so far it's really interesting. Lastly, a book that you found in a thrift shop or antique shop. I have a shit ton because this whole book cart is just overfilled with books that I lucked out and found at a thrift store. I am addicted to going to thrift stores and finding old school horror books or picking up Stephen King books, and I'm finding a lot of books that I really want to read. So one of them I found was The Relic by Douglas Preston and Lincoln Child. I've heard a lot of great things about those authors, and this book is about a relic in a museum, and I think a lot of strange things happen, and this was adapted into a film in the 90s, so I haven't read this yet, but I want to. Another one is The Keep by F. Paul Wilson, and this is about Nazis that are evil. I mean, Nazis are always evil. It takes place in a Romanian castle, and there's a couple, and I think they have to fight off Nazi zombies. I could be wrong, but this cover is so cool, and I think I first heard of this in Grady Hendrix's Paperbacks from Hell, so I'm really excited to read this. For the Love of Audrey Rose, this is about a father who believes his dead daughter has been reincarnated into the body of another little girl, and he gets involved in that family's life. Just the cover alone, man, it's beautiful. Children of Night. I mean, look at this cover. I don't know much about it. I think it's about vampires. Dan Simmons is a popular author who I still haven't read yet. I've gotten Daphne du Maurier, who I haven't read yet, but this sounds good. It's a gothic mystery. Haunted. I really want to read this because it's on everybody's list of disturbing books. Go to your thrift stores because you will find some really good stuff and you'll spend very little money. Yeah, and that is everything for this prompt. I would appreciate some recommendations for space books, slasher, backwoods horror, because I'm really slacking in that department. Let me know if you do this tag. I would love to watch your videos and see what you're reading. And thank you so much for watching. Stay safe. because it's Friday the 13th. Catch you next time, guys. Bye.